Hello and welcome into a new edition of Inside the Nest. I'm Luke Milai, she's Emily Cochran. If you only saw the stats, you may think the Owls won this game. Johnny Langan was the only Scarlet Knight who totaled over 30 yards from scrimmage, and Rutgers didn't score an offensive touchdown. E.J. Warner was solid in his first career start, completing nearly 60% of his passes, throwing for over 200 yards.
The moral victories are something that I look forward to, but there is a lot of great things that we can learn and build from this game. So we're going to take that approach and go back to work.
Well, my number was called in practice, so I just prepared all week to make plays this game. And it showed up on game day today.
Right here, Warner, you can see that they're going to be in man-to-man because when Sanders is in motion, the man follows him. So you can play it again. Warner doesn't quite pick it up, and he doesn't pick up the fact that there's a blitz coming. You can stop it again. Shaquan Loyal is coming in on E.J. Warner with no one in front of him. Warner missed that protection a bit, but I still think he makes the right read out of it. He knows that where the pressure's coming from is probably where the space is going to be open. He sees Adonicus Sanders, who has plenty of space. It'd be about a 5-yard chunk. But you can play it again here. Loyal just makes an athletic play, knocking it into the air, and he picks it off. That never happens on batted balls.
The Owls were on a homecoming upset win streak, which came to a halt to Rutgers this past weekend. It started back in 2018, where Temple took down ranked Cincinnati in overtime 24-17. The following year, they took down the ranked Memphis Tigers 30-28. COVID didn't allow a homecoming game in 2020, but that didn't stop Temple from coming back and upsetting Memphis again 34-31 in 2021.
This past weekend, Luke and I had the chance to speak with UMass football play-by-play announcer Nathan Strauss. He starts with his thoughts on how important this game is for the guys to the north in this week's edition of Behind Enemy Lines. Most of the transfers came from Penn State, Rutgers, and even a few from Michigan. While many of the Minutemen come from smaller areas around Massachusetts, these specific guys have experience playing in big game day atmospheres and aren't strangers to big crowds. We'll see if their past experiences help them during this Week 4 matchup against the Owls. So now that we've scouted Rutgers, it's only right we pull out our tools for Temple. Hammers and all. Start us off strong, Luke.
Well, I'm grabbing the toolbox and I'm turning it over, dumping the tools out. Just like the Temple defense needs to force a turnover, through 3 games, the Owls are still looking to create their first turnover in their defense. They've played a lot of run-heavy offenses, including one again coming up this week. So interceptions will be hard to come by. Fumbles will be the avenue to turnover number 1 this week.
Tool number 2, E.J. Warner needs to spread the ball out. He targeted Adonicus Sanders about 42% of the time, completing 8 total passes to the 6'1" receiver. All right, let's go to question number 2. When was the last time you felt this positive about a loss?
For me, I'm heading back to 2019, Temple's last winning season and their last bowl appearance. It was a game against 19th ranked SMU, who boasted a 6-0 record at the time. Temple was ranked 25th and came into the game 5-1, and the Owls lost this game 45-21. They had already beat 2 ranked opponents at that point in the season in Maryland and Memphis. I have optimism that winning 2 out of 3 against ranked opponents would mean they'd be just fine going forward.
I'm sticking with the 2019 season. For me, it has to be the matchup between the Owls and the Bearcats. It ended in a 2-point game, and Cincy ended up taking home the win 15-13. A bright spot in this Temple game was wide receiver Jaden Blue. He finished with 13 catches for 120 yards, and this was his 3rd straight game with at least 10 catches and 100 yards. During this Week 11 matchup, the Bearcats secured the AAC East title and remained the only unbeaten team in league play. So Temple being able to compete with them was a win in my eyes. So here's a quick look at our score predictions from last week. Luke, Sam, and Jake are tied up at 3-0, while my record still sits at 2-1.
Thanks, Emily. Welcome to Gable's Guide. With Temple gearing up for its last out-of-conference game, I'm here to give my guidance on how Temple can pick up a win against UMass. My first piece of advice is to utilize Jalen McMurray's strengths to the fullest. McMurray is a redshirt freshman who has already displayed his talent and leadership abilities enough to earn a single-digit